Hi, thanks so much for having me on here. I'm Hillary Kuba, and I just wanted to share a verse that I've been reading lately and thinking through. It's from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 that says, "For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven." And something I have done is I tend to compartmentalize my life into different seasons. And one of the earlier seasons I'm thinking of is we had been married for 4 years, and then we had Caitlin. So that started our baby season of the next 5 years was babies. And all of our kids are born within that time, so they're all very close together. And it was crazy. And it was a blur. I just remember a lot of spit up and diaper changes and bottles and formula and diaper bags and just all the chaos that goes along with that. After the third child, after Hudson, Chris and I were in counseling just because we needed help getting back on the same page. And it was one of those things that it was just stressful, and I was worn out after each day. He was working, and then he'd come home and he'd be worn out. And sometimes when you just have got so many other stressors that it's hard to be on the same page as your spouse. So a lot of times I felt like that mama bird where the babies are just constantly chirping and needing something. Some need needs to be met. Someone needs to be fed or changed or something, and just held or picked up. And it was just constantly meeting other people's needs. At times it was like we had triplets, but they were all, instead of triplets where they're generally all in the same stage developmentally, they were all different. Some were potty training, some were starting to sit up, some were crawling or walking, and it was just like whack-a-mole trying to keep track of them all. But I'm also, when I look back, I'm thankful because I can see how God sustained me through that, but how he gave me just enough energy for every day to get through it. And then each morning he woke up with new mercies and just a renewed strength that he gave me to get through the next day. And the next day, I've told other moms this before, that it's just one day at a time, kind of like putting one foot in front of the other, and that you will get through it too. And then the next season I think about is once the kids all went to school. That was new for me. I had worked before we had Caitlin, and then I stayed home with them when they were all at home. And then when they went to school, I just found myself thinking, well, what should I be doing? And this perfect part-time job fell in my lap. It actually happened to be at their school. So I loved being able to be up there and see them during the day. I got to know their friends and teachers, and some of their teachers have become my best friends, and it was a great environment, a great place to be. But it also left me with less time to take care of the needs of our house, errands and just laundry and taking care of just all those little things that come up as a mom. But again, I think what the Lord taught me through that season was structure is good for me. It actually helped me to knowing that I had hours to do this and this and this. I had to plan things out and be more intentional, and including my quiet times. Before that, when they were all home and it was so little, it was hard to just fit that in. But I think with the structure of working and being up every day to do those things, also gave me that structure of just getting a good quiet time routine built in. Another season, which was an unexpected one, was when Chris had his burn accident, which was about 4 years ago. That literally just happened in a flash, and I wasn't home when it happened, but he was involved in a grease fire at our house in the kitchen. He had been cooking something that caught on fire, and next thing I know, I'm getting a call from our neighbor that they've called 911, and they're taking Chris to an ER nearby, but it was like a burn trauma unit. So that turned our lives upside down. I just remember being at the hospital that first night, and he's so drugged up with pain meds, he doesn't really know a whole lot about what's going on, and the doctors are coming in and giving us the diagnosis and just everything that's happened with the burns, where they are, how deep they are, how bad they are, and what do we have, what are we looking at going forward, how should we helped us heal. And they kind of left a lot of it up to us to make these decisions about how we wanted to treat this going forward. And I just remember having this panic moment of, wait, I can't make this decision. I need Chris here. He's the one that would at least talk this through with me, if not make the decision. So, throughout that time, we had family come and stay with us, like a revolving door, because not only did I lose an adult helper in the house, but I gained a kid. He could do nothing for himself. His hands were all bandaged. He was in so much pain, and we just really needed more help. And so we tried to keep the kids' schedule as normal as possible with activities in school and everything that they had already been doing. So it took more than one of me to take care of him and do all of that. But again, I think I just saw God prove to me, not that he needed to, but that his mercies are new every morning, and every day we wake up and we do it all over again. But just to know that I think I had gotten it a little bit out of order and probably put Chris even above God, and thinking that he's all I need, he's going to take care of me, we'll be fine. And while he was not able to do those things that he normally does, it put it all on me, but it also showed me just that God is all I need. While I love Chris with everything I am, he's not my end all, and he is a man and a person and a human, but that God really is the one that meets all of our needs and is going to take care of us. Then a more recent season would be when the whole process of moving here. We knew we were being called to this church and to the Houston area, but when it came time to actually sell our house and move, it did not happen quickly. And we knew without a doubt that that this is where we were coming, what we were supposed to do. And I found myself getting frustrated that God wasn't answering that prayer, that it was taking longer than I wanted it to. We had found houses that we loved, and they would come on the market and then get sold. But I'm just thankful for God's timing, which is part of the lesson that I learned, that his timing is perfect. And we were able to find just the right house for us, the one that he was saving for us, which is why it took our house, I guess, a long time to sell. And it just taught me patience of just trusting God and knowing that his timing is perfect. And then now we all find ourselves in this COVID-19 quarantine season, and just trying to, for some people that might be scary to now be at home and be sheltering in place and stuck, especially if you're a people person who loves to be out and about or just with other adults. But one thing I like to do when I think back on these seasons is try and figure out, what is God teaching me, or what did he teach me? Sometimes I don't learn the lesson until the season's over. But I think with this specific season, I've been able to just see that God, while he's slowed everything down in our lives, that he's teaching me just to depend on him again, and just to value the time and the things that he's given us, like our family. That's been huge for us, is just our family times. And something I also want to share is just some of the truths that God's given us. And so when I think back on these seasons and what am I going to learn from them, I kind of want to check them off with these truths to make sure that they line up with that. So some of these verses would be, one of them is Psalm 119:90, that says, "Your faithfulness endures to all generations." So I love thinking of just that God is with us, with me, with my kids, with other family and friends, that he's been with us forever, and he will be with us forever, which is the next verse, Hebrews 13:8, that says, "Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever." So even in the midst of all this craziness that comes out of nowhere, sometimes out of the blue, that God knew it was coming. He's the same then at the beginning of this, and he will be at the end. And that is just comforting to know that God is going to take care of us and is always with us. And then Psalm 121:2 just says, "My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth." So even in those little details of just fingerprints and how many hairs are on our head, to the butterfly spots and the leaves veins, and just little things like that, to the the majesty of mountains and the oceans and just how strong and powerful they are, but how I love that song that says the mountains will bow down and the seas will roar, because they will. And that God is the creator and the majesty of all of that. And even in this, what seems like a giant pandemic going on right now, that God is still in control and still has our best interest at heart. So I want to just encourage you that even in this quarantine season, that you would just think through just something positive that's happened as a result of it, or in the midst of it, that you would want to carry through even when the season is over, when things start resuming and getting back to normal. What are just some things that you want to take with you from that? If it's more family time, hopefully you've been able to just grow closer in your walk with the Lord, and finding time to slow down to do that and keep that as a part of your daily routine. So hope y'all have a great day. Thanks.